Hello, loves. Hello, hello. Hills here from the blue flame. How are we all doing? Welcome to Uranus in Gemini. Actually, the moment of this recording is the last couple of hours of Uranus in Taurus in just a couple hours from the moment of sitting down to record this update for us all. Uranus is tickling through the last moments of Taurus energy. Ooh, Venus is passing through the realms of Sedna and coming into the second degree of Gemini. This is the location where Venus will be at the moment of Uranus's movement into that sign of communication and expression, Gemini. This week that we're approaching, this final week of April, as we come into those energies of May Day and begin a very, very powerful May month that will have not one, but two full moons. One on May Day, May 1st, the Scorpio full moon, and one on May 31st, which happens in the United States anyways to be Memorial Day. So we get a holiday on either end of May, and we get a full moon on either end of May. That one will be in Sagittarius. Today we are going to talk a lot about the Scorpio full moon. But the way we're going to come into this energy is through observer, through the observer. In particular, what we're going to talk about, and we're harnessing, I'm recording this a little earlier than I normally would, because we're harnessing the energy of something called the Shapley supercluster or the Shapley Attractor. And this is what we're really going to dive into today. As Venus comes into this 2 degree of Gemini, and Uranus is getting ready to tick over into Gemini, with Sedna there at 1 degree, this Uranus-Sedna conjunction is going to be running for the rest of the year. Neptune in sextile to them over in Aries, a sextile which is going to be running for the rest of this year because in July, Neptune is going to shift retrograde, keeping this sextile nice and tight. They are working with Pluto in Aquarius, sextile for Neptune, trine for Uranus and Sedna. But they are also in this sextile formation, Neptune, Uranus, and Sedna. And today, exactly as Uranus comes into Gemini, Venus is along for the party, pointing that finger of God, that destined finger, at the Shapley supercluster or the Shapley Attractor. And because this particular yod is active for the entirety of the rest of this year due to retrogrades and all of that fun stuff, and really into the beginning part of 2027 as well, my guides literally kept me up the other night saying, you need to bring Shapley through for us all. So we are going to do that today. We're going to work with the energies of the Scorpio full moon to help us get there. We're going to work with these energies of Venus exactly in conjunct Shapley to help us get there. So the Shapley supercluster or the Shapley Attractor astrologically speaking, exists at 2 degrees of Scorpio. 2 degrees of Scorpio. The location, cosmically speaking, from our telescopes, from our observation, places it in something called the zone of avoidance. It's the area of our galactic center. It is directly behind, in some ways, the great attractor. And there's so much light and gas and dust and churning energy in this area that without specialized equipment, it is unobservable. So it takes a unique eye, a unique perspective to be able to get into the energetics here. Now, the Scorpio full moon will find Mars across the wheel or in trine, anyways, in trine to the great attractor. Venus will be exactly conjunct the star Aldebaran. Aldebaran, the silver gateway, one of the entry points for souls coming into incarnation. And we're going to talk about that a lot more in the next update because we're going to be coming into the solar conjunction with the 3 A's, as I like to call them: Algol, Alcyon, and Aldebaran. But right now, it's Venus and Aldebaran. Moira and Saturn. Moira and Saturn in Aries. And they are pointing a yod at the full moon in Scorpio. So we're feeling with this full moon, which is also when the yod comes into its tightest of Neptune, Uranus-Sedna. These movements into the previously invisible, into the occulted. And this is helping us to get into the energies of Shapley. Into the energies of Shapley. The great attractor, we've talked about quite a bit here in the blue flame space. We understand it as this great space vacuum, this gravitational anomaly that pulls everything into it. It is also part of the gravitational movement that spins our Milky Way galaxy. Behind the great attractor, the Shapley Attractor, not only moves the Milky Way, but the entire supercluster of galaxies, which the Milky Way is part of, the Lanaki. Please forgive me if I mispronounce that Hawaiian word. And all of the galaxies in our local part of the universe, our universal neighborhood, Shapley, spins. It is the gravitational point around which all of our neighbors rotate. What Shapley represents, as does the great attractor, is receivership, observation. When Shapley kept me awake the other day, as I was laying in bed and finally had to get out of bed and write some stuff down, was that it is the great I. And we're going to go into some physics in order to really get into this, okay? Physics, the initial study of physics, is the study of what is observable. It is our physical senses. This is where the name physics comes from, because we are explaining or seeking to explain that which we can observe through our visual senses, through our olfactory senses, through our taste, through our touch. As we evolved, as we continue to move through, our capacities for observation grew. We began to be able to observe the macro and the microscopic, to touch more of space, more of the cosmic, and touch more of our atoms, our cells, that which is microscopic. And this became part of the study of physics. And we began to have astrophysics and internal microphysics. As computerized technology began to increase, our capacity to access quantum physics began to increase as well. And we could touch, see, experience things that were previously to that unobservable. But one thing remained constant and has remained constant throughout all of these processes, and that is the observer effect. The observer effect. What the observer effect is, in very layman's terms, is a knowing, an understanding that without an observer, an event has not actually occurred. It's that old axiom. If a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, did it actually fall? Did it make a sound? These cones come from the same place as our quantum physics, Schrodinger's cat, sort of. We don't know if the cat is alive or dead until we open the box energy. What the Shapley Attractor, and the Great Attractor as well, for that matter, represent is the observation. Our eyes are receivers. Our eyes take in information. Like our eyes, our physical eyes, the Shapley Attractor and the Great Attractor receive, they take in information. Everything that occurs in the universe is witnessed. The Shapley Attractor and the Great Attractor represent that witness. Everything that is witnessed by these massive light-sucking energies, these black holes that are bigger than anything that we've ever observed as black holes, that they're not even called black holes because they're so big. They suck all of the information in. They take it in. The part that energetically we can accept, perhaps, with this is that this is an aspect of our universal structuring. When we work with the energies of the Great Attractor or the Shapley Attractor, the Shapley supercluster, part of what we are able to do as well is touch into that universal consciousness, to bring our consciousness into observership of the entire universe, which allows us to rewrite, restructure, come into greater connection with our divine purpose within that, our unique quote, our unique song, our unique story. I'm called to share the words that Shapley shared that other night when I couldn't sleep. A giant receiver gathering the information streams of consciousness for integration, allowing the fabric of reality to be rewritten, updated, and is in this state constantly shifting. With this yod, Uranus and Sedna. Now remember, Sedna is that powerful shamanic journeying energy that allows and helps us to connect in with the deepest depths of our emotionality, being the queen of the oceanic underworld, and with the farthest reaches of our mental capacity, being the asteroid that goes all the way out to the Oort cloud and back again, and is in that back again sweep now. We simultaneously have a Oort cloud comet getting ready to make its closest pass to the Earth on the 26th, so that's fun as well. In the beginning of Gemini, the sun, the sign of duality, yes, of expression, of communication, not simply communication person to person, but the way that we communicate cells to cells, atoms to atoms, across species. Remember, the ruler of Mercury, of Gemini, is Mercury. Part of Mercury's energy is the capacity to communicate through all of the planes of existence. So when we're working with this awakening, our unique shamanic capacities of communication that is Uranus conjunct Sedna in Gemini. In Sextile, that beautiful gifting bridge, that aspect that allows us to connect more easily with our innate gifts. This is Sextile. With Neptune in Aries, Neptune shamanic visioning as well, veil lifter, dreamtime wanderer. In the sign of I am, can we feel just in this, which is running for the rest of the year, this sextile, just in this alone, we are waking up our dreaming bodies. We are waking up our connection to our light bodies, to our divinity. We are clearing away the cobwebs. We are opening the curtain. And then they point, each of them in conjunctly, at the Shapley Attractor. this great eye that opens and receives, observes all of creation in our local galaxy, our local universe system, our neighborhood of superclusters, inviting us to access this information as it also acts as a clearinghouse, helping us to release and rewrite and restructure. Remember, constantly shifting. As we observe something, we change it. This is a law of physics. The moment something is observed, it is changed. As the observer of our local universe, the Shapley supercluster attracts information to itself, much like that magnetic resonance that Venus is connected to. Pulls the information in, allures it to itself, and invites us to be changed in the process. So let's get a couple more bits and bobbles about the Scorpio full moon, shall we? It is exact at 10:23 a.m. in the Pacific time zone on Friday, the 1st of May. Happy May Day, y'all. During this full moon, which will find the moon at 11 degrees of Scorpio, the sun at 11 degrees of Taurus, we will also find Chiron still at 27 degrees of Aries, conjunct the Andromeda galaxy, with Mercury coming to join. This is a very, very powerful alignment in that the sign of Aries is coming to completion. Chiron is doing its last turns in the sign of Aries, at least a little bit anyways, because in June, it will shift into Taurus for its first little tickles into that sign in about 50 years. It won't fully go into Taurus until 2027, but we get to start feeling the energy. But this Mercury aspect with Chiron and Andromeda galaxy in trine to the galactic center is inviting us to feel all of those places and spaces where we didn't trust our intuition, where we didn't trust our innate knowing, where we silenced ourselves for fear of castigation. Feel that word, fear of castigation. Being told you don't know, you don't have the right. When that word first came into me with regard to this energy about a week ago, there was this sense of castigation, castration. What does it mean to be castrated, to be cut off? Now, of course, there's the medical castration. But what we're really talking about is the energetic castration, which is being cut off from your creative knowing. When we silence ourselves, we self-castrate. We're castrating our mental knowing, our heart knowing, our expression, our full creative joie de vie, if you will. Part of the rest of this year, this yod with Neptune and Uranus and Sedna pointing at Shapley, part of the energy of this Scorpio full moon on May Day is inviting us to experience that self-castration, that self-castigation, to invite it to be changed through our observation, and to remember that we, each and every one of us, just like the great attractor, just like the Shapley attractor, are observers of the all universe. We are part of how the universe experiences itself. And our job is to allow the constant shifting to be moved through us. The secondary process that we talked about very briefly with Venus conjunct Aldebaran during this Scorpio full moon, Moira, the fates, the Moira, the triple goddess energy, conjunct Saturn, that foundational dharmic energy in Aries, in a sextile to one another, Venus and Aldebaran, Saturn and Moira, bringing us into connection with our soul's journey. Remember, Aldebaran is it's called the Silver Gateway. It is one of the communal hubs that souls pass through on their way, in particular to earthly incarnations. Venus here helps us connect with the longing, the desire that brought us into that physical being. We can feel this through the dance of the sperm and the egg that met each other, the egg calling the spermatozoid into itself. This is a magnetic expression that brings the chemical reaction that creates the vessel that our soul resides in. Aldebaran in Taurus, in Gemini, expression of this energy. We are this unique expression. Venus calling it in, calling it in. Moira, the fates, that destiny, conjunct with our Dharma, Saturn. Also our karma, and that place where our fates interact, and we find that our karma and dharma are in fact the same thing. And they are pointing that destined finger, that yod, at the full moon in Scorpio. The sign of secrets and wisdom and power and all that is occulted. Now, this is still very fixed energy. with the Scorpio full moon. It's working in the subtle realms. So we are observing the macro and the micro. We are being gifted that capacity to see how our fate is intertwined with our karmic and dharmic purpose, and to allow the story to change, to shift in that way in which we understand now that everything is constantly shifting. To connect in with Shapley, if it's hard to get in there, remember, just before the moon is going to pass through Shapley too. So perhaps the day before the full moon, you can look up at the night sky and ask Luna to help you connect in to this energy. Now, beautiful, beautiful piece here to play with is that the night before the full moon is something called Walpurgis night, which is a Bavarian term. It basically means the festival of spring. It's an ancient Bavarian pagan festival of fertility dancing. It's dancing around bonfires. It's ecstatic expression. It is shaking off the cobwebs of winter to celebrate the all of creation. This is where our current celebration of May Day and dancing around the maypole comes from. We are invited the night before the full moon to dance, to howl at the moon, to open our hearts to connect in with the fertility of all that is, and to invite the observer to be observed. That's Shapley Attractor. And through observing the observer, to allow anything within us that needs shaking loose, that needs changing, to, through this observation, be moved. Perhaps dancing under the full moon will be what you're called to do. Perhaps it's something else. Everything about this cycle that we're in now, as the month of April ends and the month of May begins, and deep into May, and as this finger of God continues to be pointed throughout the rest of this year, is inviting us to allow change, to allow that which is not ours to fall away as we allow that which is our truth to rise up and be expressed in the world. To remember that all the medicine you will ever need already exists within you. And to be that expression of medicine that you are here to be in the world. In our members portal, our full moon violet blue flame ceremony, remote healing, is going to be working very strongly with the Shapley Attractor. And we're going to get to play even more as the year continues with this energy, more and more channelings, weavings, observations coming through. If it calls, come over, join the community. It would be amazing to welcome you. however you are called to journey through and with this energy, to observe yourself, to open your awareness, what is sometimes called the second attention, to the vast display around you presented. May you journey in this unfolding well, my friends. And this weaving is shared, as always, in the always, with so much and many loves. From the dimensions of the all and beyond the beyond. Please do share comments, like, subscribe, all the things. It is always a pleasure to share and weave with you in the comments. So definitely do that if you're called. And thank you.